It was a clear morning over the Pacific, the kind pilots dream about. The sun was just beginning to cast its golden rays on the water, and the air was calm, almost serene. But for one flight, serenity turned into chaos in mere moments. This is the story of a flight that went horribly wrong, a tale of unexpected disaster, split-second decisions, and the mystery of what caused a plane to end up inverted, plunging into the Pacific Ocean just after takeoff. Takeoff is one of the most critical phases of any flight. Pilots rely on precision, focus, and a solid understanding of their aircraft to navigate this brief, yet intense period. But what happens when that precision is disrupted? What happens when instruments deceive and pilots find themselves flying blind? The flight started like any other. The pilots conducted their pre-flight checks, passengers boarded, and the engines roared to life. Everything seemed routine, yet just below the surface, a chain of events was quietly aligning, ready to shatter the normalcy. As the aircraft gained speed on the runway, the pilots worked in perfect coordination. Airspeed alive. V1. Rotate. The plane left the ground, climbing steadily into the morning sky. But then something shifted. A subtle anomaly that quickly spiraled out of control. The first sign of trouble came from the cockpit instruments. The artificial horizon, a crucial tool for maintaining orientation, began displaying erratic behavior. To the pilots, it looked as though the plane was climbing normally. In reality, it was banking, slowly rolling into an inverted position. This phenomenon, known as spatial disorientation, is every pilot's nightmare. When visual references are absent, as they often are over the open ocean, pilots must rely entirely on their instruments. But when those instruments fail or provide conflicting information, the human brain struggles to make sense of the situation. For the passengers, the first indication that something was wrong was the shift in gravity. What had felt like a smooth ascent now felt unnatural. Drinks slid off trays, seatbelts tightened, and a murmur of unease began to spread through the cabin. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, the pilots were fighting an invisible enemy. Every alarm, every flashing light, was a piece of a puzzle they had no time to solve. The plane systems were warning of an impending stall, a deadly condition where the aircraft loses lift and plummets from the sky. In an attempt to recover, the pilots increased power and pulled back on the controls, a move that, under normal circumstances, might have saved them. But these weren't normal circumstances. Unbeknownst to them, the aircraft was already inverted, and their actions only hastened the descent. The Pacific Ocean grew larger in the windscreen, its once distant horizon now a looming inevitability. The pilots, trained professionals with thousands of flight hours between them, were reduced to seconds to analyze, decide, and act. What caused this tragic sequence of events? Investigators would later point to several factors: a malfunctioning attitude indicator, improper maintenance protocols, and a breakdown in communication between the crew. But perhaps the most haunting aspect of this story is the role of human error. How even the most experienced professionals can become victims of their own senses, betrayed by the very systems designed to keep them safe. The crash sent shockwaves through the aviation community. It served as a stark reminder of the fragility of flight and the importance of constant vigilance. In the aftermath, new regulations were introduced, focusing on instrument reliability and pilot training for spatial disorientation scenarios. Yet, for the families of those on board, no regulation could undo the loss. They were left with unanswered questions, fragmented memories, and the weight of knowing their loved ones' final moments were spent in confusion and fear. Flying is often described as the safest mode of transportation. Statistically, it is. But stories like this remind us that safety is not a given. It's a constant effort, a delicate balance of human skill, technological advancement, and the unpredictability of nature. As pilots and passengers, we place our trust in the marvel of modern aviation. We trust the engineers who build the planes, the mechanics who maintain them, and the pilots who guide them through the skies. But above all, we trust that even in the face of the unimaginable, lessons will be learned and steps will be taken to prevent such tragedies from happening again. For the flight that ended inverted in the Pacific Ocean, Those lessons came at an unimaginable cost. A cost paid in lives, in grief, and in the enduring mystery of what truly happened that fateful morning. As we close this story, let us honor those who were lost, not just by remembering them, but by committing to a future where every flight is a little safer, every pilot a little more prepared, and every passenger's journey a little more secure.